Bernie Sanders might be known as the fiery independent senator from Vermont, but behind the scenes, he's had someone equally passionate by his side for decades: his wife, Jane Sanders.
Jane has worked with me. She's not only been a wife, but a colleague for many, many years.
Their story began in the 80s. Bernie was mayor of Burlington, and Jane was already juggling activism and motherhood. They married in 1988, and from that point on, Jane has been by Bernie's side through it all: campaigns, Senate battles, and even a Soviet honeymoon. Jane was born in Brooklyn in 1950, and her early years were anything but easy. After her dad had an accident when she was 2, he became a taxi driver. Her mom went to secretarial school at night, and her brothers left school to help out. So, yeah, Jane grew up tough, resourceful, and fiercely independent.
I mean, if we had had money when I was 2.5, he would have been home.
In her early 20s, Jane married her high school sweetheart, David Driscoll, and the two eventually moved to Vermont. That marriage didn't last. They divorced in 1980, but it brought her 3 kids: Heather, Karina, and David. When Bernie entered her life, he didn't just become her partner, he became a father figure to her kids too. And later, when her ex-husband passed away, Bernie formally adopted them. The two even fostered 13 children together. Yep, 13.
She had been a foster parent. How many foster kids did you have?
13.
13,
Over
not to
time.
mention her own 3 kids. And she got me thinking a whole lot about the needs of children and youth.
Their first meeting? Not your typical rom-com. Jane saw Bernie at a mayoral debate and said she fell in love with his ideas before the man himself. "I sat in the second row and I fell in love with Bernie's ideas," Jane told People. "We met eyes a few times, which I thought was interesting."
He spoke, and it was unbelievable. I just felt that he embodied everything I believed, and I was on board.
So sparks flew, and a few weeks later, Bernie asked her to dance. That was it, until it wasn't. They actually broke up for about a year because she wanted marriage and he wasn't so sure. But even then, he kept showing up for her and her kids. That steady presence in their lives ended up winning her over. Eventually, Bernie proposed, not with flowers or fireworks, but by taking her by the shoulders and simply asking. And she said yes. They got married on May 28, 1988, at Burlington's North Beach.
So this is the wedding, and my daughters were my bridesmaids, and Davy walked me down the aisle. I was calm and happy and content and excited for the future.
They didn't go for a glamorous honeymoon either. Nope, they headed to the Soviet Union. Not as tourists, but to help establish a sister city connection between Burlington and Yaroslavl. Practical and political, classic Bernie and Jane.
He's very authentic.
Before all this, Jane had already built a meaningful career. She studied social work, earned her doctorate in leadership studies, and worked with the police department's juvenile division, volunteered with AmeriCorps, and helped young people through community programs. She's done everything from bank teller to college president. Seriously, is there anything she hasn't done?
They said, "You need a PhD, you need to continue to do this work, let us help you get that." So I went back and I got my PhD at 50.
And she's not just Bernie's biggest cheerleader. She's been deeply involved in his work. Over the years, she's taken on multiple roles, from chief of staff and policy advisor to press liaison and media buyer. According to reports, she even helped draft more than 50 pieces of legislation. When Bernie says he has a tight-knit team, he really means it.
What people don't understand is that's what he's always done. He's laid out a vision that was a lot more progressive and a lot more bold than people thought could be accomplished, and then he's accomplished it.
That said, Jane wasn't exactly thrilled when Bernie first floated the idea of running for president. Her first reaction? Do you really want to spend your time defending every little thing we've ever said or done? Fair point, right?
Ego and arrogance is not Bernie's go-to place. I mean, his thing is service.
But eventually, she got on board, not just as his wife, but as his constant companion on the trail, helping him stay grounded.
I just said, I give up. You have to do it, I guess.
Because, as she put it, it helps him to have a familiar face, someone he can count on. And if that doesn't sum up their relationship perfectly, we don't know what does. This story of a lifelong bond between a driven politician and an equally strong, compassionate partner might remind you of another iconic duo, Barack and Michelle Obama.
How lucky am I to be married to Michelle Obama?
Now, let's go back to where it all started, the summer of 1989, Michelle, then Michelle Robinson, had been working as a law associate at Sidley and Austin for a year when she was assigned to mentor a first-year summer associate.
Everyone, from the head of the firm on down, had talked about how brilliant this guy was, and it was rare that a firm as big as ours hired first-year students, so he was going to come in as a summer associate.
And let's just say he made quite the first impression.
And then in walks Barack Obama. And Barack Obama has always walked like Barack Obama. Like, he's got all the time in the world.
She admitted that her first thought was that he was cute, but Michelle thought he was cute but didn't let herself get swept up right away.
But in my mind, I was like,
Not interested?
not off limits, not even not interested. I'm not gonna date one of the few black summer associates. Robin, how tacky.
But Barack had other plans. About a month in, he asked Michelle out. At first, she shot him down, thinking it was completely tacky. But Barack didn't play games. He even offered to quit his job for her. Barack's persistence paid off, and Michelle eventually said yes.
When we had stopped for ice cream, and he got the sense that I was starting to open up. And he played it real smooth. He just leaned in for a kiss.
Their first date was like a scene from a romantic movie. They spent the entire day together, visiting the Art Institute of Chicago, enjoying lunch in the museum's courtyard, sipping drinks on the 99th floor of the John Hancock building, watching Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, and taking a leisurely stroll down Michigan Avenue.
And then we went to see Do the Right Thing.
Spike Lee had just come out.
Had just come out.
Showed all the sides. He was hip, cutting edge, cultural, sensitive, the fountain, nice touch, the walk, patient.
Take tips, gentlemen.
Fast forward to 1991, and Michelle was nudging Barack to get serious about their relationship. Little did she know he had a plan. Over dinner at Gordon's restaurant, he played it cool, arguing that marriage wasn't necessary, just to get Michelle all fired up.
And so I deliver because I too am a lawyer and I have my points to be made. So I was in full making my point, and I was like, in 3 and A, and if you think, and da 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 da.
And that's when the waiter brought out dessert, with an engagement ring next to it.
He opened up the box and he said, now that ought to shut you up.
By October 3rd, 1992, they were saying I do at the Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. Fun fact, Barack woke up with a nasty head cold on their wedding day, but by the time Michelle met him at the altar, it had miraculously disappeared. Love really is the best medicine.
Do you recommend workplace romances, just in case anyone from HR is watching?
They worked out fine for me, so.
All right.
But even in those early days, Michelle had her doubts about Barack's political aspirations. In 1996, she admitted, "I'm very wary of politics. I think he's too much of a good guy for the kind of brutality, the skepticism."
She is my reality check. She knows my strengths, she knows my weaknesses.
Still, politics came knocking. Barack was elected to the Illinois State Senate in 1996 and re-elected twice. In 2000, he ran for the U.S. House of Representatives but lost. But Michelle knew her husband was destined for more. She once said, "Barack has helped me loosen up, take risks, not do things the traditional way."
About 15 years, I finally figured out that she's always right. So...
Meanwhile, life at home was changing too. In 1998, they welcomed their first daughter, Malia, and in 2001, their second, Natasha, better known as Sasha. But balancing family and Barack's growing political career wasn't easy. When Barack ran for the U.S. Senate in 2004 and won, people started whispering about a possible presidential run. And by 2008, those whispers became reality. Suddenly, their relationship was in the national spotlight, and Michelle proved she wasn't going to just stand in the background. During Barack's campaign, she famously joked, "You want to know how Barack prepares for a debate? He hangs out with me."
But I tended to try to stay away from telling my husband what to do from a policy perspective. And here's the thing, I usually agreed with him on everything he did.
Even in the chaos of the campaign, Barack never forgot their relationship. Just a month before Election Day, he flew back to Chicago to take Michelle out for their 16th wedding anniversary. And during an interview with Barbara Walters, he even paused mid-question to tell Michelle she had lipstick on her teeth. Priorities.
Of what we can do in the White House and for the nation.
Can I Sorry to be the producer. Can I cut? You got a little lipstick on your tooth.
I'm going to leave
Thanks,
this in.
honey.
I think this is the
Ingrid?
most natural piece of television they've had.
Got it.
Of course, we all know how this story goes. In 2008, Barack made history, and the Obamas became the first black first couple in the White House. For Michelle, there was one major perk: finally seeing her husband every day. During most of our marriage, he was in Springfield, I was in Chicago. He was in Washington, I was in Chicago. Now we live above the store, she said.
I had to work a lot. I didn't have a day off. Even when we're on vacation, I'm still getting that presidential daily briefing.
And let's be real, these two have never been shy about showing their affection. From their kiss cam moment at a basketball game to that iconic hug after Barack's 2012 re-election, the one that became one of the most retweeted photos of all time, their love has always been on full display.
Michelle is actually funnier than me, mainly because she teases me, but I can't tease her.
I think that's fair.
But let's not romanticize everything. Marriage is work. Michelle has always been candid about the tough times, including the miscarriage she suffered before having Malia and Sasha through IVF.
I felt lost and alone, and I felt like I failed because I didn't know how common miscarriages were, because we don't talk about it. We sit in our own pain, thinking that somehow we're broken.
The couple even went to marriage counseling when the stress took its toll.
Why did you think it was important to share that?
For those young people out there who think that marriage is supposed to be easy, and marriage counseling for us was one of those ways where we learned how to talk out our differences.
So, through all the challenges and triumphs, Barack and Michelle have remained a strong team, growing, supporting, and lifting each other up. Their journey shows that love is about more than just the good times. Now, what do you think is the secret to a lasting marriage? Share your thoughts in the comments.